Dragonball Online, a hair-raising MMORPG that released exclusively to a Korean, Chinese and Taiwanese audience beginning in 2010. But the game, alas, would not only never see a Western release, but only see 3 years of life at all, as its servers closed down in 2013. But fear not, as with a number of former greats we have jumped into recently, the game has since been revived and restored by passionate and talented fans to bring the experience back for a global audience and bigger and better than ever, thanks to those at Dragonball Online Global Revelations. Today we take a dive into one of the game's most exciting projects to check out what it has to offer its players today, and most importantly what we can expect in future adventures, exploring its lands, collecting some Dragon Balls, and meeting its ridiculous and often disturbing looking inhabitants in its wonderfully insane world. My name's MitchManix, and this is Dragonball Online. And while we're on the subject of MMOs, before we begin I want to give a massive shout out to the sponsor of this video, Albion Online. Albion Online is an award-winning sandbox MMORPG that offers a truly cross-platform experience. The game is set in an open medieval fantasy world, and features a player-driven economy where nearly every item is player-crafted. Combine armor pieces and weapons suited to your playstyle in the unique classless You Are What You Wear system. Gear up and use teamwork to send the enemy fleeing from the battlefield. Only the most skillful fighters will leave the field victorious. Conquer a piece of the vast world of Albion for yourself. Territories allow your guild to collect valuable siphoned energy and gather precious resources. Claim yours, then expand your empire and protect it from invaders. October 16th sees the highly anticipated new content update Wild Blood, an update that introduces a host of fantastical creatures to Albion and gives the player the power to harness this primal magic for themselves. And you can try out one of the most popular MMORPGs right now whilst directly supporting the channel using the referral link in the description. And a massive thank you to Albion Online for sponsoring the video. And now, let's find some Dragon Balls. As always, our journey begins at the character creator, where Dragon Ball Online sports a fairly light offering when it comes to races and classes. I imagine mostly due to them needing to make sense within the game's established world. A number of hairstyles and color options are available, along with a few extra details, with all the options being for child characters, which as we'll see a little later on, can be built upon, with the game tying the characters nicely into the Dragon Ball world. But we need a hero for this journey, so must of course call upon the one and only Jigglypuff, a margin that manages the fine art of being incredibly swole whilst jiggling around like a half-melted Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Taking our first steps into the game's world, we find ourselves at Kame House acting as Tutorial Island, where we are walked through the basics of the game's movement and combat, while also getting a look at our hero's chosen running style, which doesn't exactly go too far in terms of striking fear into the hearts of our enemies. Actually, scratch that. That is terrifying. Finding our feet with the game's controls and taking out our first enemy in the form of a giant ladybug wielding the power of the referee whistle, we are treated to our first cutscene, with enemies appearing along with the legendary Trunks, who make swift work of our attackers, whilst showcasing the dangers of overindulging on cans of Monster Energy. Trunks then reveals to us that we are in fact in the past here at Kame House, and those enemies were time invaders, here to attempt to change the past. Following their defeat, he gives us a ride in his ship to the present, where we are met by one of our Margin brothers, to begin the leveling experience in the Margin starting zone. Grabbing our first quests, taking out some of the local wildlife, and getting some initial levels, to go along with our first enhanced mode of transportation that gives off the look of a snowmobile Segway, and so early on is a welcome addition to get us out and about. Now in our first settlement of the village of we begin working our way through the starter zone quests, beginning with Teacher Wooby, and wander down to check out the town, making sure to check in to allow us to take advantage of the game's Hearthstone-esque mechanic via the hauntingly terrifying Popo Stone. Okay. Oh, is that the Hearthstone thing? Oh, hello! Oh my god, that is genuinely disturbing. It's following me around. Oh god! The village housing a good number of MMO essentials, with a banker and various merchants, all of course provided by the quirky and frequently insane-looking characters of the Dragon Ball universe, such as the Elder of himself, that although looking like he's about to fall asleep, does just add to the bonkers charm of the village's inhabitants. Ah, look at that child, the way he walks. What an idiot. working through the early quests and even picking up our first Dragon Ball, making me wonder exactly how things will play out when we collect them all. It's clear that the core of Dragonball Online's early leveling experience, at least, follows the tried and true theme park MMO formula of progressing through each zone assigned to a particular level range, with the vast majority of quests focused on taking out the land's weird and wonderful enemies while getting around to explore, while grabbing new gear and abilities along the leveling journey. Dragon Ball Online is not without its own flair, however, with systems such as the game's widely spread bus network being an interesting take on fast travel to get from place to place, as well as the absolutely legendary feature in its quest radar that scans the surroundings to highlight quest givers to keep the progression rolling. The quest chains given out by the towns and camps around the land are not the only option available to players when leveling, as Dragon Ball Online also features a number of time travel portals that build upon the premise introduced by our highly energetic friend earlier, taking the player back in time to some key events in the series and meet some recognizable characters. If you would have told me I was going to be drop-kicking pterosaurs in the balls in Dragon Ball Z, yep, I would have believed you. Along within the early stages, learning impactful new abilities, such as here at level 7, saving a small child for Grandpa Gohan, who teaches us the art of using rage points to charge up in the troubling bowel movement style the series is known for, and use this to augment our current abilities with extra bonuses that can be selected for each ability, which is nice to see and only adds to build customization later down the line. The game zones also feature large dungeons for players to delve into, and complete a number of quests given from NPCs around the zone, such as Tough Hair delving into the Splish Splash Sewer to take on one of the primary enemy factions of the Margin Zone, the Red Pants Army.
Break out the red panties!
The zone dungeons being a good way to consolidate the plotline of the zone, as well as some of the quests, such as here grabbing some from a nearby adult Margin named Kappa, who says Kek. Color me suspicious, with these locations even featuring larger, tougher enemies for players and groups to take on. Working our way through the levels, we make a stop every few to complete the time portal missions to unlock more abilities, battering dinosaur ball bags to save child Chi-Chi, who is busy chewing on the floor, to unlock the guard ability, and catching up with her later as an adult while visiting a town to play out another key moment from the series, and learn ourselves the dash ability, whilst getting a chance to take in some of the local ambience, with quite possibly the most happiest or intoxicated maraca player I have ever encountered, along with a man enjoying the tranquil flow of Tai Chi, whilst having the face of a man who just lost his entire life savings investing in Popo Coin, with a set of new abilities for combat in the bag, and after working through the levels and exploring the initial zone of Fran Fran Desert, we get a message informing us that we have qualified for the flight tutorial, which we waste no time in tracking down. This quest, however, ends up being a bit of a tease, not exactly providing flight, but more of an introduction as to what we can expect at a later level, but with Buff still getting a chance to try out taking to the skies, at least for a little while.
Is it a bird?
Is it a plane? No, it's a sunburnt inflatable Fonzie baby. Finally reaching level 20, and finishing the last of the quest lines in the zone, we pick up our 7th Dragon Ball, and with giddy excitement rush to the dragon altar just by the village of Bah, placing them upon the altar to summon the mighty Shenron, who grants us some really tasty gear to reward us for our endeavors. Marching on towards the next zone, it's great to see this MMO providing such a seamless experience getting to grips with the game and setting the player up. Although being so controlled, it has to be said I'm sure we'll turn away those that look for a little more flexibility when it comes to leveling. The radar system is a great addition to keep the player updated on what to track down next, and the story missions covering the core abilities are a brilliant way to keep up the feeling of being placed in the Dragon Ball universe. There were also, however, some reminders that this project, although exciting, is still in its development stage, now and again bumping into quests, still displaying in another language, making the experience feel a little like speaking to aliens in No Man's Sky, attempting to pick out words from a bunch to try and piece together what might be being requested, heading into another zone, and continuing the leveling journey. I did, even in this early stage, quite enjoy working through the levels, but it will be down to you if you choose to jump in now or wait if interested in the game, a topic that we will revisit a little later in the video. With Dragon Ball Online's leveling experience explored, it was time to go even further beyond, with the kind people at DBOG Revelations providing us with a boost to the level cap of 70 to check out what the game has currently awaiting at the endgame. First stop was to complete a questline to age up our hero Jigglypuff to an even more cursed Michelin Man looking version of himself, unlocking access to Corin Tower via a short questline, and getting an audience with Corin himself to unlock our adult form. An adult form that with a higher level fully unlocks our flying skill, which as you can imagine completely radicalizes transportation, from our bumbling along on a space-age mobility scooter beginnings. Next up was to unlock the advanced class for our hero, going for the ultimate margin class, again obtained by following a short questline with a fight at the end. A fight that was a swift reminder that although bigger and more powerful, old Jigglypuff was still at his core utterly ridiculous. With a fully powered up Margin now flying through the skies, it was time to seek out some of the more advanced PvE activities, first stopping off at a number of the game's ultimate dungeons, much higher difficulty than its open world counterparts, and designed for teams, which was made clear as day as even when being much higher level getting absolutely destroyed when attempting to solo some of them. The ultimate dungeons being really cool to see, even in this project's developing stages. Another key player when it comes to endgame progression is one that is actually custom configured by the team behind the DBOG Revelations project. Capsule Corp Battle Dungeons are available to players to grind through and pick up some of the best gear and upgrade equipment, and in Revelations they have added a nice additional mechanic of a number of modifiers that are applied to the dungeon, indicative of Guild Wars 2's Fractals or World of Warcraft's Mythic Plus offerings, adding replayability and a shifting experience when reaching further when it comes to endgame gearing. For those looking to jump into more story-based group challenges, DBO also offers time machine instances and a number of difficulties for groups of players to band together and relive some key moments and battles from the series, which Pack a Punch has tough once again found out by getting demolished almost instantly upon entering. When it comes to group composition, the game allows for the Holy Trinity setup, with our Margin here having both taunt as well as buffing and healing abilities to unlock, in addition to damage dealing attacks. Not just that, but when adding the rage point system we uncovered while leveling, only adds options for both group play and soloing when taking on endgame and group-based activities. The world of Dragon Ball would not be complete without the opportunity to make a name for yourself smashing the crap out of other potential heroes. And with that, Dragon Ball Online features a number of options for PvP. Ranked matches that are queued for, coupled with full-on PvP tournaments, are available, to go along with some open world events, also allowing for impromptu beatdowns, competing over their completion, in more of a PvPvE style. I hate saying that. PvP. In this project's more early stages of development, the party for PvP at the moment, however, seems to be at the game's open world arenas, where groups of players gather to take on each other in a free-for-all PvP zone.
Did he just turn everyone into sweets? What a king.
The open world PvP arenas being great at honing skills as well as going a long way to enhance the community of the game, having a place for players to gather, chat, and battle together. And I'm proud to say that I only once used my obnoxiously overpowered character to spin around and punch everyone in the face. Apologies to those involved, but I couldn't control myself. After taking a look at so many features of the game, the question remains, should you dive in and check it out for yourself? Well, that will come down to what you're looking to get out of the game currently. The team at DBOG Revelations have already done some amazing work with this MMORPG, and it's really positive to see already such a great community forming. The team redesigning elements of the game to move away from gacha and RNG-based mechanics, with changes such as upgrades being automatically successful, adding flair to the PvE content to increase replayability, as well as of course bringing the whole experience to a global audience. As it stands, however, there are still some rough edges and optimizations to be done to really bring out the best of this experience, and are of course to be expected considering its ongoing development. But after getting a look into some of the planned updates, there are truly some really exciting additions and changes coming that will look to turn this MMO potentially into something truly outstanding, such as a move to increase PvE combat challenge, making strategy key on every pull, speedrunning mechanics, transmog, and seasonal and hardcore servers. So it will be down to you as a player if you choose to dive in today. Is there fun to be had with what's available today? Absolutely. For fans of the more scaled-down MMORPG experience, without the endless amounts of additional features and optional moving parts jumping out at you every 20 minutes, will most likely really enjoy DBO. And that of course goes tenfold for Dragon Ball fans. For some like me, you may want to dip your toe into the game to see what it's about, with the mind to spin it back up later down the line once things expand out a bit, as after all, the game is free. But enough can't be said about the ridiculous amount of talent and dedication of this fan-led project, putting in so much to keep this MMO alive. An MMO that feels insane that it never got a Western release and a real chance to shine long term. The core components of a great MMORPG experience are already in place with DBO, and when looking to the future, I for one will be keeping a close eye on this one as it continues to power up. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'm keen to get your thoughts down in the comments. Please drop the video a like if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss all the crazy shenanigans coming up. And trust me, there's some things in the pipeline you don't want to miss. I want to give a massive shout out to the channel's supporters who help in keeping the content coming. Oh, good lord, they're so beautiful. If you're interested in joining as a channel patron for all sorts of perks including exclusive videos and behind the scenes, the info is down in the description. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one. Shit.
Jesus, calm down!
Oh dear lord, what have I done? Standing upon his steed like a Segne, the former being mostly due to his reputation of being slightly less than accurate with his spells for unknown reasons.